Truth Unveiled here, and today I have some interesting stuff to share with you. We're going to be going over more about the eclipses that will be occurring real soon, but also I'm going to be sharing with you two more solar eclipses that will be occurring in a very similar way in a different place, and you're going to see the prophetic significance as we tie everything together. Now, as we went over in our last video, we talked about this eclipse right here, the Great American Eclipse, and we tied that into what could potentially be YAHUSHA's real death date, burial, and resurrection, and the year and the decade, because we know our enemies lie about it. And then we told you how in so-called 2024, so in just 2 years from now, how it will complete the X over America. But not only that, how that will be 2,000 years following that eclipse that occurred in so-called South Africa on 3/28/24 AD in the Julian calendar. And in case you missed that video or you need a refresher on it, you can definitely take a look at it, and it will also be linked in the description box along with the True Location series. And as we've also gone over in several other videos, the prophetic significance of this, we also talked about how at the center of this X right here, how it meets up at around Carbondale or Southern Illinois, or around Cairo, Illinois, at the Mississippi River. And of course, as we know and we talked about, you can take a look at our Hebrew 101 series as well. The X right here is what? The Tav or the Thu, that is what? The final letter of our alphabet of the YAHUDIYAH, or so-called Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, and has a numerical value of 400, just like the 400 years. Very interesting and suspicious indeed. So not only that, but we also know that this area is known as Little Egypt, where the X meets and where it intersects for the eclipses in 2017 and 2024. But not only that, as we've gone over in previous videos, that there are also Egyptian names in southern Illinois, such as Thebes, Cairo, Illinois, and again, how they're all located on the Mississippi River, no different than what river? The Nile River. No longer in denial about this, as we've gone over back in 2015, and we'll briefly touch up on this again, that the Nile River covers about 30% of the land is east of it, 70% is west, just like with the Mississippi in America, how it runs through basically the entire country. And of course, we went over Memphis being in Egypt, as you can see, right directly on the Nile River, just like Memphis, Tennessee, that is on the Mississippi, as we've shown you with the pyramid and the statue of Ramesses in Memphis, Tennessee, that's located on the Mississippi, just like the pyramids on the Nile in Egypt. Again, this nation subliminally letting you know that it's Egypt once again. Just like when you take a look at the dollar bill, turn it around, and what will you see? You will see a pyramid. That is not a surprise or coincidence. However, what I wanted to turn your attention to is not actually these eclipses that are occurring in America, but speaking of Egypt, will there be two more eclipses that will be occurring in the actual Egypt real soon? Now, these are the two eclipses that I wanted to turn your attention to, actually. There's one in 2027, and then there's another one in 2034, and we're going to be going over the potential prophetic significance of this. And again, pay careful attention to Egypt specifically. And again, you're also going to see some very eerie things about this in a moment to come. But the first one will be in 2027, as of 8/2/2027. Now look at the path very carefully, and you will see that the maximum duration of totality will be observed in Egypt, southeast of Luxor, and will last about 6 minutes and 22 seconds. So again, we have that right here, as you can see the path, and I will show the map as well from timeanddate.com, so you'll be able to see it a little bit more clearly. But as you can see right here, it starts over here. Now pay careful attention to the path of it too, because it travels from north to south. Just like the Great American Eclipse, the one that occurred in 2017, 10 years later. Is that a surprise or a coincidence? I don't think so, because then there's also this one of 3/20/2034 that now goes from west to east, just like the one in 2024 over America. Wow, no surprise or a coincidence whatsoever. And this gives an animation of it, as you can see right here, how it travels from west to east. But as you see right here, this one travels over Africa this time and passes through Arabia and goes into Asia. However, what's interesting is that its greatest eclipse is towards modern day eastern Chad towards Sudan, but as it keeps going, it passes and travels through southeastern Egypt again, and we know how prophetic this area is because we know that this area is towards Arabia and is passing towards what? The real Har Sayania or Mount Sinai, and also the real Exodus location. Is that a surprise or a coincidence? And not only that, but we also know that what are these scriptural lands that we've gone over in our true location series? Is that a surprise or a coincidence? It's not looking like it. Now here is the map from timeanddate.com. As you can see, this is the first one occurring in 2027, the total solar eclipse. So as you can see right here, as we scroll down, this is where you can see the eclipse. I will link all of this in the description box below so that you can take a look at it on your own time. You can take a look at the detailed eclipse path map, as you can see right here. If I scroll all the way down to the eclipse shadow path, however, I can see a bigger, detailed map right here of the direction that it travels and the direction that it will go. As you can see right here, this orange line right here is where it will reach its totality. And as you can see, it occurs all over Egypt. So it starts over here towards the Atlantic, and then it goes this way, going all the way into the Indian Ocean as it's known today. So as you can see right here, this is the path that I really wanted you to pay careful attention to right here, is that it goes over pretty much all of Egypt, but when we zoom in a little bit closer, this is what we will find. How, again, this eclipse passes all the way over Egypt, as you can see right here. I'm trying to enlarge it and do the best that I can in my ability to enlarge it, just so that you can see and get a better idea of this. As you can see right here, it goes over what we know today as the so-called Red Sea, or should I say the Sea of Reeds. But again, pay careful attention. The biggest part that it travels through is southeastern Egypt, as it's commonly known today. And then the one in 2034, again, notice how there's a 7-year gap in between them, 2027, 2034, just like with the Great American Eclipse of 2017 and 2024. Is that a coincidence? But as you can see on the red line right here, it now goes over the same area that it went over in 2027 in southeastern Egypt towards the Luxor area, passing the Sea of Reeds, and then going over so-called Saudi Arabia today, or the Arabia region. And again, we've gone over in our true locations videos, and we've done videos even back in 2016 covering how the real Exodus location and the real Mount Sinai or Har Sayania is located in today's Saudi Arabia at Mount Jabal al-Lawz, which just so happens to be in this region. No, it's not over there. That's a lie, because we know our enemies lie. But it's just interesting how, again, you see the same similarities and how it passes over prophetic places and prophetic regions. Could this mean anything? It most definitely could. Could this be a sign of YAHUAH's judgment? Because again, we see that just like with this one, X marks the spot. And not only that, but this is towards a brand new year as well. So again, we see the prophetic significance and how it ties into the appointed times, just like for the eclipse in 2024 in America, it will occur when? That's right, during unleavened bread. But when you examine all of this a little bit closer, you start to see something even more peculiar and eerie indeed about this. So when you take a look at these dates right here, so again, pay careful attention how with the first eclipse that occurred over America, it went from what? It went from, as we know today, west to east this way. So it goes that way. But now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the dates of these eclipses and compare them to the ones in the first Egypt in 2027 and 2034. So this one occurs on 8/21, 2017. The one that goes from west to east then occurs on 4/8, 2024. So again, keep those dates in mind, and also keep these dates in mind for the 2027 one that occurs over Egypt the first time, and then the one on 3/20, 2034 that occurs in Egypt a second time. So when we keep those dates in mind, What happens when we plug in these dates on timeanddate.com? This is what we're going to get. So again, these dates come from the Great American Eclipse, so the one that occurred on 8/21/2017, and then the one that's supposed to occur on 4/8/2024, and just a couple of years from now. So again, when we plug in these dates on here, what will we get? When we calculate the duration, we get 2422, or 2,422 days in between the two eclipses that occur in America. However, when we plug in the dates for the Egyptian eclipses in 2027 and 2034, will we get the same number? Let's find out, because here we are at time and date again, and it says right here 8/2/2027. We told you to keep those dates in mind. And then the second eclipse that occurs on 3/20/2034, around the same time as the new year, prophetically enough, what do we get? We get what? 2422 days? Wow, is that a surprise or a coincidence? Very interesting and suspicious indeed. How is it that both of these eclipses that occur, so the Great American Eclipse, have a duration of 2422 days in between them, but so do the ones that occur in the first Egypt? And how is it that it occurs in what? Both nations that identify as Egypt, scripturally, both nations that have taken us both into captivity. Wow, what are the odds of that? So again, what we're now paying attention to, as well as the two eclipses and how they are similar to each other, not only in path, but duration too, because as we see, they're 10 years apart. But remember how the first eclipse in America traveled from this way going that way, or as we know today, from north to south. And then, as we also told you, the one 10 years following this one in 2027 goes the exact same way from north to south. And then, of course, the second one of America goes from west to east in 2024, but then 10 years later in 2034, something very similar occurs with the Egyptian eclipse in Egypt in 2034. Now, another thing that I've done for timeanddate.com when it comes to the duration is that I was led to calculate the duration between the 2 days of the two different eclipses that occurred 10 years apart. So what you will see is something else that's also very alarming indeed, because when you take the first Great American Eclipse that occurred on 8/21/2017, and then you take the day of the first eclipse that occurs over Egypt in 2027, again, they're about 10 years apart. What you will find is that the duration between the both of them is 3,633 days. Now, let me ask you this question. For the eclipse that will occur in America in 2024, and then the one that will occur in Egypt the second time in 2034, do you get the same duration and result of days? Let's find out, because when we go to that one, so again, the second Great American Eclipse that occurs on 4/8/2024, and then almost 10 years later, the one that occurs in Egypt the second time that goes, and again, they both traveled the same pathway of west to east on this time in 2034, almost 10 years later, is a duration of how many days? 3,633 days? What are the odds? Now, when you take a look at a more detailed map, this is what you will find. So this is the one in 2027 that occurs over Egypt. As you can see right here, it travels in the same exact pathway as the one in America in 2017, as that one did. Now, as you can see over Egypt, you see that what? It travels over the Sea of Reeds. And now this is the region that I really want to keep your attention on over here, because again, folks, these are prophetic regions. And as we know with the scriptural locations, these are scriptural locations and prophetic scriptural locations that these eclipses are passing over, not just the ones in Egypt, but of course the ones in this current Egypt, aka America too. So the question becomes, with all of these things, is this just all serendipitous, or is this a bigger sign for prophetic judgment? As we know, eclipses have been used to determine in times previous before now. So not only that, but then again, it goes over near what? the real Mount Sinai or Har Sayanya as well. So we see that, and we'll be taking a look more at that. And then, of course, the one when we look at the detailed map for 2034, how it goes from west to east. And again, it travels the same path as the 2024 one, a very similar path as the one in America. And it goes over that same region once again, the same area of southeastern Egypt, northeastern Sudan as it's known today. And again, we've talked about why that's so important. And again, passing over the real Mount Sinai, Har Sayanya. Now, this is the real Mount Sinai right here. As you can see, Jabal al-Lawz. Now, again, we've gone over this in our true locations video. Now, it's just interesting that the eclipses occur and make the X in this region right here, right near the real Har Sayanya or Mount Sinai. So again, I don't think that's a surprise or a coincidence. And I know I keep saying that, but it's just all this stuff is just interesting, folks. Again, the similarities in how both of these eclipses occur. Now, remember, we also shared with you ancient maps that revealed and depicted in the same region that we saw on those maps in southeastern Egypt. What? Babylon, the real scriptural Babylon, is also in that region as well, that those two eclipses will be occurring in for both 2027 and 2034, with Media not too far. Yes, the real Medo Persia, as it's commonly known today. Again, it was not known as Persia back then, the scriptural one anyway. It was known as Paras or Parasa, not no Persia. So again, the reason I'm talking about this right now is because, again, these eclipses are occurring over very prophetic places, and both have to do not only with Egypt and captivity, but they both have to do with captivities. Both of these eclipses, or all four of them, I should say, occur over places where we have been taken captive, major captivities. Remember in our rainbow video we did when we talked about the 7 major captivities, where isn't it interesting that these eclipses occur over America? That's one of them. The first Egypt, that's a second one. Babylon is one of them. And then also Assyria too. That's another one. And even this one too with Medo-Persia as well. That's 5 out of the 7. The only 2 that it really does not occur over is what? Greece and Rome. But even arguably you can say so, because even with the one that we showed you in 2027, it starts in Southern Europe, and once upon a time Rome pretty much owned all of Southern Europe. So again, is all of this just a mere conspiracy, or is it YAHUAH trying to show us something? Is it YAHUAH trying to show us the prophetic judgment that's even at the door for all of these nations? And then don't forget how one of the eclipses, I want to say in 2034, just showed you how it passes over where in eastern Chad, very much near the place of Agades, as we've shown you on ancient maps, that ties into where? Ancient Assyria. Yes, this is the real ancient scriptural Assyria location. And again, you can take a look at our True Location series to go over more of this, that goes into more in depth of this, that it's not that fake region in Iraq and Iran that they're trying to spoon feed us in the so-called Middle East. No, that's not where the scriptural Assyria is. It's in this region in modern day Niger and extending into Chad as well. So again, the eclipse passes over these regions. This was a map that was published in 1706. As you can see right here, it shows the real Babylon. And again, that same exact region where the eclipse will take place in both 2027 and 2034, that it will be passing over this region. So again, folks, this is for you to decide. What does it all mean? What could it all link to? And does it have any prophetic significance that both of these eclipses will be occurring over scriptural locations? And not only that, places that had to do with our captivity and had a hand in our captivity as a nation, as part of the 7 major captivities that we have gone through as a people. And again, southeastern Egypt is especially significant because we know it not only contains and has to do with the real scriptural Babylon, but it has to do with the first Egypt itself, and then it has to do with what? coming into when it talk about the Passover account, the very first Passover that took place during the time of Musha Moses and during the time of Aharun Aaron. So again, this is for you to decide. I will link everything in the description box below. I just wanted to share this with you as YAHUAH had been leading me to do this research on this topic because again, I personally think there is prophetic significance. Of course, I'm not leaning on my own understanding, but as we know, things do not just happen, folks. There are no coincidences with YAHUAH. Things don't just happen. Things have a prophetic timeline, a prophetic significance. And again, on this channel, our question now is not only uncovering the prophetic timeline and significances, but wondering what it all means to and how it relates to scriptural prophecy. So please continue to seek YAHUAH and his true son YAHUSHA for even more truth. Everything will be linked in the description box below. This is Truth Unveiled here saying as always, Shalom.